In a bustling metropolis, where skyscrapers pierced the blue sky and the sound of traffic was a constant symphony, two men lived lives that seemed to be at opposite ends of the social spectrum. On one side was Ricardo Alves, a successful businessman known for his shrewdness and determination. At 35, he was the CEO of a renowned technology company, having rapidly ascended the corporate ladder. Ricardo was admired by many but also feared for his aggressive approach to business. Dressed in expensive suits and always surrounded by a cadre of eager employees and associates, he exuded an air of confidence that could be both inspiring and intimidating. His office, perched on the top floor of a gleaming glass building, was a testament to his success. It was decorated with modern art and furnished with luxurious furniture, but it lacked warmth, a reflection of Ricardo's personality. He was a man who valued results above all else, often dismissing the emotional aspects of life and relationships. To him, vulnerability was a weakness, and compassion was a luxury he couldn't afford in the cutthroat world of corporate competition. On the other side of the city, in stark contrast to Ricardo's world, lived João, a homeless man who had long ago become a fixture on the streets. With unkempt hair and a weathered face that told stories of hardship, João was a man marked by the struggles of life. He wore layers of tattered clothing, each piece a remnant of a time when he had a home and a family. Although he appeared rough around the edges, there was a depth to João that few took the time to notice. His eyes sparkled with an understanding of life that came from years of observing the world around him. João spent his days on a busy street corner, often seen sitting against a wall, clutching a worn-out backpack filled with the few possessions he had. He would occasionally engage passers-by in conversation, sharing stories and wisdom that seemed to flow from a wellspring of experience. People often ignored him, casting glances of pity or disdain, but those who stopped to talk found themselves enriched by his insights. Despite the harshness of his circumstances, João held on to a profound belief that there was more to life than material wealth. He often spoke about love, kindness, and the teachings of Jesus, which provided him with a sense of purpose and clarity amid the chaos of his daily existence. In his heart, he carried a message he believed was vital for everyone, especially those who, like Ricardo, had lost sight of what truly mattered. As fate would have it, these two men, seemingly worlds apart, were destined to cross paths in a way that would change their lives forever. The stark contrast between their lives set the stage for a powerful encounter that would challenge their beliefs, forcing them to confront their own vulnerabilities and the deeper meaning of humanity. On a bright and bustling Tuesday morning, the city was alive with energy. Ricardo, dressed in his signature tailored suit, strode confidently down the sidewalk, his mind racing with thoughts of upcoming meetings and business deals. He was a man on a mission, completely absorbed in his world of numbers and profits. As he approached the corner where he often caught his morning coffee, he was momentarily distracted by the sight of João. João was sitting on the pavement, leaning against a graffiti-covered wall, his eyes scanning the crowd as if searching for something, or someone. Despite his ragged appearance, there was an undeniable aura about him. It was as if he carried with him the weight of the world, yet also a certain wisdom that transcended his circumstances. Ricardo's gaze flickered over João, but he quickly dismissed him, feeling a wave of discomfort wash over him. He had long ago learned to ignore the cries of the city's less fortunate, believing that they were merely a distraction from his ambitions. As Ricardo walked past, João called out to him, his voice calm yet firm. "Hey, sir. You look like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. Sometimes, all you need is a little kindness to lighten the load." Ricardo halted, taken aback by the unexpected interruption. He turned slowly, irritation flashing in his eyes. "What do you know about carrying the world? You're sitting here begging for change," he snapped, his tone dripping with contempt. João, unfazed by the harshness of Ricardo's words, met his gaze with a steady look. "It's not about the money, my friend. It's about the heart. You might have wealth, but it seems you lack something much more precious." Ricardo felt a flicker of anger rise within him. How dare this man, with his unkempt hair and ragged clothes, speak to him about what he lacked? Not wanting to engage further, he sneered, "You don't know anything about me. You think your little insights mean something? Get a real job. The exchange drew the attention of a few onlookers who had been passing by, and whispers began to ripple through the crowd. Some looked on in pity for João, while others seemed to share Ricardo's disdain. The atmosphere grew tense, and João's voice softened, but his conviction remained unwavering. You're right, I don't know you. But I know that everyone has a story, and sometimes, the hardest part is letting others in. Ricardo shifted uncomfortably, his irritation mingling with a strange sense of curiosity. The truth was, he had spent so long building walls around himself that he had forgotten what it felt like to be vulnerable or to connect with others on a human level. In this moment, as João continued to hold his gaze, he felt a prickle of discomfort, as if João was peeling back the layers he had carefully constructed. Listen, Ricardo huffed, I don't have time for this. He turned to leave, but João's voice stopped him once more. Before you go, remember this, treasures are not always found in bank accounts. Sometimes, they are hidden in the hearts of those we overlook. With those words lingering in the air, Ricardo walked away, but he couldn't shake the feeling that João had struck a chord deep within him. As he continued on his way, the encounter replayed in his mind, leaving him with an unsettling mix of anger and intrigue. The bustling city continued around him, but for Ricardo, the world felt different now, as if the ground beneath him had shifted just slightly. Little did he know that this brief encounter would set off a chain of events that would challenge everything he thought he understood about life, empathy, and the true meaning of success. The following day, Ricardo found himself on the same street corner, his mind still wrestling with the words of João. He had tried to shake off the encounter, but the memory kept resurfacing, pricking at his conscience. As he approached the coffee shop, he spotted João again, still sitting in the same spot, a few scraps of food scattered near him from the kindness of strangers. Ricardo's initial instinct was to simply walk by, to ignore the man who had dared to challenge him. But there was something magnetic about João that drew him in, a curiosity mixed with frustration. As he got closer, he noticed João was engaged in conversation with a small group of people, sharing stories and laughter. The sight stirred something in Ricardo, a mix of irritation and a strange desire to understand. Feeling a rush of bravado, Ricardo approached the group, intent on asserting his dominance. "What's all this?" he scoffed, his voice dripping with condescension. "Do you really think people want to hear your nonsense? You're just a beggar." The words hung in the air, sharp and biting, drawing the attention of everyone around. The group fell silent, taken aback by Ricardo's blatant disrespect. João looked up, his expression calm and composed. "I'm sharing stories, my friend. Sometimes, it's the stories that connect us all, regardless of where we come from. But you wouldn't understand that, would you?" Ricardo's anger flared. How dare this man speak to him like that? He felt a surge of power in the moment, fueled by the audience that had gathered. "You're nothing," he retorted, his voice rising. "You sit here all day, doing nothing with your life. Why should anyone listen to you?" The crowd shifted uncomfortably, some casting sympathetic glances at João, while others appeared to share Ricardo's disdain. It was a moment that felt electric, charged with tension as João locked eyes with Ricardo. "You may have wealth, but you lack something truly valuable, compassion. It's easy to belittle others when you're standing on a pedestal of privilege." "Compassion?" Ricardo laughed derisively, his voice echoing down the street. "What do you know about compassion? You're out here, living off the scraps of others. That's not compassion, that's desperation." As he spoke, he felt a rush of self-satisfaction, reveling in the power dynamic he had created. But beneath the bravado, a small voice in his head whispered doubts, gnawing at his confidence. What if João was right? João, unperturbed by the humiliation, stood up slowly. "You can throw words at me, but they only reflect your own insecurities. Remember, what you do to others says more about you than it ever will about them." Ricardo felt a flicker of unease as the onlookers began to murmur among themselves, some shaking their heads in disapproval of his behavior. He was losing control of the narrative. In a fit of anger, he pointed a finger at João. "Get a job. Do something with your life instead of sitting here and preaching." With that, Ricardo turned on his heel and stormed away, his heart racing. The laughter and chatter of the crowd faded behind him, replaced by the pounding of his own thoughts. He had humiliated João, but in the back of his mind, he felt a strange discomfort, an unsettling realization that perhaps he was the one who had lost that encounter. As he walked away, he couldn't shake off the feeling that he had crossed a line, and the image of João's calm demeanor lingered with him. For the first time in a long while, Ricardo found himself questioning not just the worth of others, but the worth of his own actions. The city continued to buzz around him, but Ricardo felt an emptiness that he had never experienced before. It was as if, in humiliating another, he had inadvertently exposed his own vulnerabilities, and that thought haunted him as he returned to his world of suits and board meetings. Days turned into weeks, and the encounter with João weighed heavily on Ricardo's mind. Despite his attempts to bury the memory beneath the pressures of work and the hustle of daily life, the brief moments of vulnerability and the piercing words of the homeless man kept surfacing. It was a persistent echo that refused to fade away. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at the office, Ricardo found himself unable to shake the feeling of discontent that had settled in his chest. He sat alone in his high-rise apartment, surrounded by the luxury he had worked so hard to attain, yet it felt hollow. The expensive furnishings, the view of the city skyline, and the accolades on the wall, none of it brought him the satisfaction he thought it would. Seeking distraction, he turned on the television, but nothing interested him. Instead, he found himself wandering over to a small bookshelf tucked away in the corner of the room. Dust had begun to gather on the spines of the books, remnants of a time when he used to read for pleasure. As he browsed the titles, one particular book caught his eye, a worn copy of the New Testament, a gift from his mother years ago. Curiosity piqued, he pulled the book from the shelf and flipped through the pages. Underlining and notes from his younger self filled the margins, reminders of the faith he had once held dear but had long since abandoned in his pursuit of success. As he thumbed through the verses, one passage struck him with unexpected force: "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in." Ricardo felt a shiver run down his spine. The words seemed to resonate deeply within him, echoing the sentiments João had expressed during their encounter. The message of compassion, connection, and empathy that he had dismissed so readily now seemed to haunt him. That night, as he lay in bed, the weight of his actions began to settle in. He thought of João, of the dignity in his eyes, the wisdom in his words, and the possibility that he had missed something crucial in life by focusing solely on material gain. The realization hit him that, in humiliating João, he had not only belittled another human being but had also distanced himself from the very essence of what it meant to be human. In the days that followed, Ricardo found himself increasingly drawn to the teachings of Jesus. Each morning, he would read a passage from the New Testament, reflecting on its meaning and how it applied to his life. He began to understand that wealth and success were not inherently negative, but they should not come at the expense of kindness and humanity. As he immersed himself in the teachings, he felt a stirring of change within him, a desire to seek redemption for his past actions. He realized that the message João had tried to convey was not just about charity, it was about recognizing the inherent worth of every individual, regardless of their circumstances. Determined to make amends, Ricardo decided to return to the street corner where he had first encountered João. He knew he could not change the past, but perhaps he could begin to alter his future. Perhaps he could find a way to make a difference, to embody the very message he had overlooked for so long. With a newfound sense of purpose, he prepared for the meeting, not just as a businessman but as a fellow human being seeking connection and understanding. Little did he know, this decision would lead him on a journey that would challenge his beliefs and transform his life in ways he never imagined. As Ricardo approached the street corner again, he felt a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The familiar sights and sounds of the bustling city enveloped him, yet everything seemed different now. With each step, he reflected on the changes that had occurred within him since that fateful encounter with Joao. The arrogance that once defined him was slowly being replaced by a sense of humility and introspection. Arriving at the corner, he scanned the area, searching for Joao. The crowd was as lively as ever, people rushing past, and street vendors calling out to potential customers. But where was Joao? Ricardo's heart raced as he felt the weight of his purpose pressing down on him. He needed to find him, not just to apologize, but to learn from the man whose words had sparked a profound transformation within him. After a few moments of searching, he spotted Joao sitting on the same patch of pavement, seemingly at ease amidst the chaos. A small group of people gathered around him, some listening intently to his stories, while others offered him food and a few coins. The sight brought a smile to Ricardo's face, but it was quickly replaced by a wave of anxiety. How would Joao react to him now? Would he still see the arrogant businessman, or would he recognize the change that had begun to take root in Ricardo's heart? Taking a deep breath, Ricardo walked over to the gathering. As he approached, Joao looked up, and their eyes met. In that moment, a flicker of recognition passed between them. Joao's expression was calm, almost welcoming, as if he had been expecting Ricardo's return. "Back again, I see," Joao said, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his lips. The words held no bitterness, instead, they conveyed a sense of understanding and acceptance. "Joao," Ricardo began, his voice steady but laced with vulnerability. "I came to find you because I've been doing a lot of thinking since our last encounter. I want to apologize for how I treated you. I was harsh, and I didn't take the time to understand your perspective." Joao regarded him thoughtfully, his gaze unwavering. "Apologies are a good start, but they mean little without action. What have you learned since we last spoke?" Ricardo hesitated, grappling with the weight of the question. "I've realized that I've been so focused on success and wealth that I lost sight of what truly matters. I've neglected the importance of compassion and connection with others. Your words made me see that I had become disconnected from my own humanity." Joao nodded, his expression softening. "It's easy to lose sight of what matters in a world that values power and status. But remember, it's never too late to change. Every day is an opportunity to choose kindness." The simplicity of Joao's wisdom struck a chord deep within Ricardo. He felt a surge of determination. "I want to help, truly help. I want to do more than just offer an apology. I want to make a difference in the lives of people like you. What can I do?" Joao smiled, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Start by listening. Understand the stories of those around you. Offer your time, your resources, and your heart. It's not about giving money, it's about building relationships and creating a community that supports one another." Ricardo absorbed Joao's words, feeling a sense of purpose ignite within him. He had always been a man of action, but now it was time to channel that drive into something meaningful. "I want to create opportunities for those in need, jobs, support, a way for them to regain their dignity." "Then do it," Joao replied simply. "But remember, it's not just about the initiatives you create. It's about the people you uplift and the lives you touch along the way." As their conversation continued, Ricardo felt a shift within himself. He was no longer just a businessman seeking profit, he was becoming a man driven by a desire to foster compassion and create change. The journey ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in years, he felt hopeful and inspired. With renewed determination, Ricardo left the street corner that day, not just as the CEO of a successful company, but as a man committed to embracing his humanity and making a positive impact in the world. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a transformative journey that would lead him to discover the true meaning of success. In the weeks that followed his enlightening encounter with Joao, Ricardo dedicated himself to a new mission. He began by reaching out to local shelters and community organizations, seeking to understand the challenges faced by homeless individuals. Each conversation was an eye-opener, revealing the complexities of life on the streets and the myriad reasons that led people to their circumstances. Ricardo realized that he had lived a sheltered life, one where the struggles of others were often hidden from view. He began volunteering at a local shelter, sharing meals, and listening to the stories of those he served. Each individual he met had a unique tale, filled with dreams, disappointments, and resilience. The more he engaged with the community, the more he felt a profound shift in his perspective, a deepening understanding of empathy and compassion. He learned about Sarah, a single mother who had lost her job and was doing her best to provide for her 2 children. Hearing her story ignited a passion within him to create job training programs specifically designed for individuals facing obstacles to employment. The desire to help grew stronger with every encounter, and Ricardo's heart began to open to the struggles and triumphs of those around him. One afternoon, while volunteering at the shelter, Ricardo bumped into João. They exchanged warm greetings, and Ricardo was eager to share the initiatives he had been working on. "I've been speaking with people here, learning about their challenges. I want to help create opportunities, job training, mentorship programs. I want to empower people to rebuild their lives." João listened intently, a knowing smile spreading across his face. "That's a wonderful start, Ricardo. But remember, it's not just about providing opportunities. It's about fostering a sense of community and belonging. People need to feel valued and seen." Ricardo nodded, absorbing João's words. The realization struck him that true change required more than just practical solutions, it demanded a cultural shift, a movement towards kindness and understanding. He began to implement community events at the shelter, where individuals could share their stories, talents, and skills. Music nights, art exhibitions, and storytelling sessions became avenues for connection and healing. As the initiatives gained momentum, Ricardo noticed a remarkable transformation within the community. People who had once felt invisible began to step into the light, sharing their talents and aspirations. The shelter became a hub of creativity and collaboration, fostering a sense of pride and ownership among its participants. Ricardo's life also began to change. The relentless pursuit of profits that had once defined him faded into the background as he found joy in the impact he was making. He was no longer just a businessman, he was becoming a catalyst for change, working alongside people who inspired him daily. The stories he heard and the lives he touched filled him with a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced in the corporate world. However, the journey wasn't without its challenges. There were setbacks, moments of doubt, and resistance from those who could not see the potential in the marginalized. Ricardo found himself facing criticism from some in his corporate circle, who questioned his motives and commitment to his company. But he stood firm, believing in the greater purpose of his work. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, Ricardo sat alone in his apartment, contemplating the path he had chosen. The city lights twinkled outside his window, but instead of the familiar sense of isolation, he felt a warmth spreading through him. He had discovered a sense of belonging that transcended material success. He picked up the New Testament again, flipping through the familiar pages. The verses that once felt distant now resonated deeply within him. The teachings of love, compassion, and kindness were no longer mere words, they had become a guiding force in his life. Looking back at his journey, Ricardo understood that true success was not measured by bank accounts or corporate accolades, but by the connections he forged and the lives he touched. He had found a new purpose, one that aligned with the values he now held dear. As he drifted off to sleep that night, Ricardo felt a profound sense of peace. He was on a path of transformation, one that would continue to challenge him, but also inspire him to grow and evolve. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, he felt ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that he was not alone. As the months passed, Ricardo's initiatives gained traction, uplifting the lives of many in the community. The shelter had transformed into a vibrant space for growth and connection, where individuals found not only basic necessities but also hope and inspiration. Each success story fueled Ricardo's desire to do more, but he knew that true redemption for his past actions lay in deeper engagement with those he sought to help. One afternoon, as he prepared for a community event, he received a call from a local newspaper interested in covering the shelter's work. The journalist, Sarah, wanted to hear about Ricardo's journey, his motivations, and the impact of the programs. Eager to share the story, he agreed to an interview. As they sat in the shelter's common area, surrounded by the hum of laughter and conversation, Ricardo shared his experience, the turning point that had led him to this path. It all started with a chance encounter with a homeless man named João. He challenged my perception of success and made me realize that I had been neglecting the importance of compassion in my life. Sarah listened intently, her eyes bright with interest. "What was it about João that made such an impact on you?" she asked. Ricardo smiled as he recalled their first meeting. "He showed me that every person has a story worth hearing. I had spent so long focused on my career that I had lost touch with what it meant to be human." His words made me see the value in kindness and connection. As they continued to talk, Ricardo felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the journey he had embarked on. The redemption he sought was not only about making amends for his past behavior but also about embracing a new identity, one that was rooted in empathy and service to others. Later that week, the newspaper article was published, and the response was remarkable. People from the community reached out, eager to support the shelter and contribute to its initiatives. Donations poured in, and local businesses offered to partner with Ricardo to provide job opportunities and training for those in need. The buzz around the shelter grew, and Ricardo found himself at the center of a movement that was gaining momentum. With each passing day, he felt more connected to the community and more committed to the work he was doing. However, he also felt the pressure of expectations mounting, both from the public and his corporate colleagues who were beginning to notice his absence from the boardroom. One evening, at a charity gala organized to raise funds for the shelter, Ricardo stood at the podium, ready to address the crowd. As he looked out at the faces, some familiar, some strangers, he felt a rush of emotion. This was more than just a fundraiser, it was a celebration of the community and the resilience of the human spirit. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, his voice steady but filled with passion. "When I first encountered João, I didn't realize how profoundly it would change my life. I was lost in the pursuit of success, blind to the struggles of others. But through this journey, I've learned that true success is not measured by wealth or status. It's about the connections we make and the lives we touch." As he spoke, Ricardo felt a sense of freedom wash over him. He was no longer the man who had belittled João, he was a man who had embraced vulnerability and learned the power of redemption. He spoke of the initiatives they had launched, the stories of individuals who had found hope, and the importance of community support. At the end of his speech, he felt a wave of applause wash over him. The energy in the room was electric, and he could see the smiles of hope and determination on the faces of those who had gathered. In that moment, he understood that he was not just a businessman but a vessel for change, a bridge between worlds. After the gala, as he mingled with guests, he felt a tap on his shoulder. Turning around, he was met with the familiar face of João. "I heard your speech," João said, a proud smile on his face. "You've come a long way, my friend." Ricardo's heart swelled with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you, João. You opened my eyes to what truly matters." João chuckled softly. "It's not about me, it's about the journey you've chosen. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep serving. That's where true redemption lies." In that moment, Ricardo felt a profound connection to João, a bond forged through shared experiences and mutual respect. As they stood together on the bustling streets, surrounded by the community they had both come to cherish, Ricardo knew that this was just the beginning of a lifelong journey, a journey of compassion, connection, and unwavering commitment to uplift others. Together, they would continue to change lives, one story at a time. As the months rolled on, the shelter continued to flourish under Ricardo's leadership and community support. The initiatives he had implemented transformed the lives of many, but it was the collective effort of the community that truly made the difference. People from all walks of life began to come together, united by a shared vision of compassion and empowerment. One sunny Saturday morning, Ricardo organized a community event called Unity Day. The goal was to bring together residents, volunteers, and local businesses to celebrate the progress made and to foster stronger relationships among everyone involved. It was an opportunity for people to share their stories, showcase their talents, and build connections that transcended socio-economic barriers. The day began with a vibrant atmosphere, filled with the sounds of laughter, music, and the enticing aromas of food from various vendors who had volunteered their services. Tables were set up around the shelter's yard, each one offering different activities: art stations for children, storytelling circles, and workshops on job skills and resume building. Ricardo looked around, his heart swelling with pride at the sight of community members coming together, eager to connect and support one another. As the event kicked off, Ricardo took to the stage to welcome everyone. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as he surveyed the crowd. Neighborhood families, volunteers, and even local officials had come to show their support. Thank you all for being here today. Unity Day is about celebrating not just our accomplishments, but the strength of our community. Together, we can create lasting change. After his speech, he invited João to join him on stage. The crowd erupted in applause as João stepped forward, his presence radiating warmth and wisdom. We are not just individuals, we are part of something bigger, João began. When we come together, we can lift each other up and create opportunities for everyone. Today, let's celebrate our shared humanity. As the day unfolded, attendees participated in various activities, sharing stories of triumph and resilience. Ricardo watched as Sarah, the single mother he had met earlier, led a workshop on budgeting and financial literacy. Her transformation from uncertainty to empowerment was a testament to the impact of the shelter's initiatives. The smiles on the faces of those who attended the workshop were a reminder of the importance of knowledge and support. João roamed the grounds, engaging with attendees and encouraging people to share their experiences. He had become a beloved figure in the community, symbolizing hope and resilience. As Ricardo observed João, he felt immense gratitude for the journey they had taken together. In the afternoon, a local band took the stage, filling the air with lively music. People began to dance, laughter echoing through the yard. Children played games, and families gathered to share meals, creating an atmosphere of joy and belonging. Ricardo joined in the festivities, dancing with volunteers and community members. As he moved to the rhythm of the music, he reflected on how far he had come. The once cutthroat businessman had transformed into a man dedicated to lifting others. He had learned the value of community, and he was no longer alone in his journey. Later in the day, as the sun began to set, Ricardo gathered everyone for a closing circle. He wanted to give people a chance to share their thoughts and feelings about the event and the changes they had experienced in their lives. One by one, participants spoke about their journeys, expressing gratitude for the support they had found within the community. When it was João's turn, he shared a heartfelt message. Today is proof that when we come together, we can create magic. Let's carry this spirit forward. Let's continue to uplift one another, not just today, but every day. As the event concluded, Ricardo felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. The connections forged that day would extend beyond the event itself. They would lay the groundwork for a stronger, more compassionate community. As attendees began to leave, many approached Ricardo to express their appreciation for his work and the impact it had made on their lives. He felt a sense of responsibility to continue this journey, knowing that the road ahead would still be filled with challenges but also with the potential for growth. That night, as he lay in bed, Ricardo reflected on the day's events. He thought about how far he had come from that moment of humiliation on the street corner. The journey had not just been about finding redemption for himself, it had been about creating a legacy of compassion and connection, one that would ripple through the community for years to come. He closed his eyes, feeling renewed determination to keep moving forward, united with João and the many individuals who had inspired him along the way. Together, they would continue to champion the cause of kindness, fostering a community where everyone felt valued and empowered to rise.